Hello, welcome back to another edition of Inside the Tape on Inside the Birds. And of course, when it's Inside the Tape, we bring in Greg Cosell to break down the tape of the Eagles game against the Packers, a 10-7 game. I'm Jeff Mosher alongside Adam Kaplan. And of course, there's Greg, and he's going to break down the defensive tape in part one because we all agreed the offensive tape might be a 5-minute show. The defensive tape for both sides played some really good defense. And Greg, I know we all thought it might be kind of a good game, a gladiator-like game between two teams. I didn't have 10-7 on my bingo card.
I don't think anybody did, but I guess I'm glad we're starting with the defense because the defense was a fun watch and it was very, very good. And you saw immediately the impact that Jaelan Phillips made. We talked about that prior to the game, the fact that I've always loved his tape, and boy, did he make a big impact and played almost 80% of the snaps. It was a really strong defensive performance.
What stood out in general when you watch the tape besides him, just in whether it was play calling on defense or personnel usage, anything jump out to you?
I don't usually think about play calling a lot, maybe every once in a while, like for instance, at the 2-minute mark in the fourth quarter when Fangio came with pressure and the 5-man pressure because it was not a pressure game at all. So clearly he felt that was a spot to do it. So you notice that because it was not like the rest of the game. So you notice things of that nature. But I tend to notice sort of bigger picture stuff. Like this was a game where they played significantly less man coverage than they had been playing. It was a zone coverage game. They played a lot more two high safety structures in this game, which I think is what they really want to do. As I said, they didn't blitz much. They didn't rush 5 much at all. And they didn't even have that many sim pressures. It was pretty much a 4-man D-line pass rush game. So those are the things I tend to notice. You guys know me well enough to know I'm not big on, play calls, things like that, because
no, you hit on what I meant. I really meant from Vic's strategy there. Because I had read that he had the Eagles blitzed at less than 10%. It was the second lowest blitz percentage of any team in the league, and yet they generated a pressure rate of about 40%, which was top 10. So to your point, you bring in Jaelan Phillips, you get Nolan Smith back, you get that 4-man rush going, and that's what the type of game it was,
without question. And look, he knows Jaylen Phillips very well. He coached him a couple of years ago. And Jaylen Phillips is a big-time talent. We discussed that. So I'm sure he felt in this given game, Zach Tom was coming off an injury. They just felt that I'm sure, well, we know that's what he felt because that's what he did. So, they felt they could get the 4-man pass rush working almost like the Super Bowl in many ways. And while it wasn't as extreme as the Super Bowl because the O-line is a little, was better than what the Chiefs put out there in the Super Bowl, it still was very effective. And again, you notice the sort of the rotation in their nickel between Dean and Campbell. Campbell did play meaningful snaps in the nickel as a stack backer with Bond. So did Dean. I think Dean's playing really good football, by the way. I really like what I see from Nico Dean. I'm trying to think who else, really stood out. The other thing that stood out to me is I noticed, and then I look, normally I watch the tape and then I look at, I see things and then I go look at numbers. But I was noticing Jordan Davis played the lowest percentage of snaps he played all year, which, again, I'm sure, I don't know. Sometimes games, look, we know that Vic Fangio is super intelligent, knows way more about it than I do. But sometimes games do get away from guys and you think, oh, he's going to play X amount and the game goes a certain way and a guy just doesn't get out there as much. So I don't know if that was planned or if that's just the way the game kind of played out. By the way, the other thing that really stood out is Jalen Carter started to look like Jalen Carter.
Oh, good.
And I think that really stood out.
Yeah, I mean, 2 batted passes.
And he had some moves with his club, his patented club move. And they stunted a lot. I'd really love in the metrics I have, the systems I have. I don't have stunt numbers. I want to get that because I thought they stunted a lot, and they did a lot of stunting with Phillips and Carter, where more often than not, Carter was the first guy, meaning so it was a TE stunt. Carter would be the penetrator, and Phillips would be the looper behind him. But they also did the opposite, where Phillips went first and it was an ET stunt. Then when they lined up in what we call loaded fronts, they did TT stunts inside. I just thought it seemed to me they stunted quite a bit in this game.
Greg, pre-snap, was Phillips mainly just an edge rusher? Did they move him inside at all, like they did
once or twice in the game? He played inside, but he was pretty much a 4-3 end.
Okay.
Hey Adam, I feel pretty validated. We did our self scout bye-week episode, and we talked about some things the Eagles could do defensively. One of them we said was more stunting. We felt like with the addition of Jaelan Phillips, he gives you that ability, and Nolan Smith back. And second thing, I think there was one snap maybe where Jalen Carter did wind up as an edge rusher. It was
It
was a 3-man rush, and that's where Nolan Phillips did line up inside, but not Nolan Phillips, Jalen Phillips, but he dropped into a spy, I believe, and it became a 3.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising. Phillips was from a stand-up 4-eye alignment. It was 3rd 11 early in the fourth quarter. He became the spy. Carter and Graham were the edge rushers.
Right. I may or may not have clipped that to take a look at.
All right. One more before we get started. Because it was a tough watch, as you like to say, with Jordan Love. He just seemed jittery. Was it the Eagles? Do you think they got to him? What do you think of kind of what happened to the Packers passing game in this matchup?
I think Love up to this point has played pretty well this season. And I thought in this game, and he was a little slow to process for whatever reason. Look, the Eagles normally are not a big pass rush pressure team in terms of quick wins and quick pressure. Probably if you go back and look at all their sacks this year, most of them would be from a coverage perspective, and then they get secondary sacks. And I think they did a really good job in coverage in this game. I thought Love just it never felt like, to me, again, I don't know what's in his head. I'm just telling you what I think I saw on the tape. I think he didn't get a clear picture a lot. And then you get, you start to feel the pressure because the internal clock starts to go off.
Sure.
And I think that also gets sort of back to the point where if you're allowed to play from a 2 high and you can move a little bit around on the back end and rely on the 4-man rush, which, I think for the most part, you could say the 4-man rush, if it didn't get home, it collapsed the pocket around Jordan.
Squeezed him.
And then now he's got to try to figure out where he wants to throw with a changing picture and a pocket collapsing around him. That to me looked like sort of the Eagles defense of old.
Yep. And, and the other thing that stood out, Mitchell played boundary corner pretty much every snap. And, Blankenship almost always plays to the boundary in 2 high structures. And I'm sure that's a function of range. Range would probably not be considered his best trait. But whereas Makuba is just a better athlete. No, so there were a lot of good things about this defense, but I really like the way Nico Dean's playing. I mean, just to, he sees it and he's got a really quick trigger. And he has this knack, and probably because he's always been, not the biggest guy, that's the way he's grown up playing the game. But he's got this feel for avoiding blocks without losing his gap integrity. And that's, it's like shorter quarterbacks. At some point, they have to get a feel for making throws over taller guys. He's always not been the biggest stack backer, so he's had to develop a feel for being able to make plays without losing his gap integrity, and he's good at that.
Hey, Greg, do you think, from what you just said about Jordan Love and other quarterbacks who have been either under pressure or seeing a changing picture, do you think that's why quarterbacks have not been able to pick on Adoree Jackson the way you would think? Because again, like Quinyon Mitchell, I think had 3 or 4 pass breakups, and I don't think the ball came Adoree's way. As much as you would expect it.
I'm always surprised by that. I can't. I'm being honest, Jeff. I don't know the answer to that question. We talked about that when Ringo was starting, and it just didn't feel like teams were going after Ringo the way that I'm sure the 3 of us and many others might have expected. It seems, earlier in the season, it seemed like teams were going after Adoree Jackson. We certainly saw that week 1 against Dallas, which seems like 100 years ago now. But that, I'm being honest, that's a hard question for me to answer. I don't know the answer to that.
I think we're all just trying to figure out, are the Eagles getting a little lucky here, or is Vic just doing a great job of hiding him with his scheme?
Well, it's an odd look. I'm not being sarcastic, and I think we would agree. The Eagles are 7-2 on a team that, quite frankly, has not run the ball very well and has not thrown the ball very well, and they're 7-2.
Yeah.
And what whatever that is a tribute to is a good thing, because right now they have the best record in the NFC, and barring anything crazy, I know they've got some tough games, but they also have some games that would be viewed as easier games. You never know in the league, but they're in pretty prime position right now.
Yeah. Oh, last thing, real quick, before we look at some footage. Jomo stand out to you? I thought in
yes,
particular.
yes, he stood out as well. I think he's gradually improving. He had some really good pass rushes, some strong reps. It was a really good defensive performance, I thought. Yeah. Just overall, it was really solid. Look, the Packers came out; they clearly wanted to run the ball, and they had some success. I mean, look, running the ball is one of those things. I guess Eagles fans are used to from a year ago. They think running the ball means Barkley's going to run 50 yards for a touchdown. But running success, if you're getting 5 yards on 1st and 10, that's a good play.
That's explosive play. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought they had some early success running the ball, but it was not enough. I mean, at some point, you need the passing game to be a factor as well.
Yeah. Hey, it's Jeff Mosher. And if you have a family and kids at home like me, you always want them to be fully protected. That's why I'm thrilled to be a Simply Safe customer. And our house is equipped with the most technologically advanced alarm system you can get. If you could actually stop someone from breaking into your home before they got inside, why wouldn't you? Traditional security systems only react after a break-in. But Simply Safe is different because it stops crimes before they happen with Active Guard outdoor protection. Their AI-powered cameras detect threats while they're still outside your home, and they alert real security agents. These agents take action while the intruder is still outside and confront the intruder to let them know they're being watched on camera and police is on the way. And that's how you stop a crime before it's committed. There's no long-term contracts or hidden fees. You can cancel anytime, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it and see the difference for yourself. Do not miss out on Simply Safe's biggest sale of the year, 60% off. Our listeners get 60% off a Simply Safe home security system at simplysafe.com/bird. That's simplysafe.com/bird. Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there, but when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting, and they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up. All right, let's take a look at some of the clips. Now, this was an early play in the game. It's first possession, 2nd and 9, and Jordan Love is going to get sacked here by J. Hunt. But this is our first kind of indication of Jaelan Phillips' impact.
This is the Phillips play, yes, because this resulted initially. Actually, it resulted initially from coverage to trips, which was cover 2, which is where Jordan Love looked. And then Phillips, his 2-hand speed to power rush versus the right tackle Tom, forced Love to move where Hunt cleaned up. That's basically what happened on this play. Because you'll see, if you want to run it, Jeff, you'll see Love looks to his right. Within the structure right now, it's not clear. Nothing has really defined itself right now.
Correct.
And he just doesn't want. He's not. I think he wanted to throw the snag route, and he just doesn't feel like that's a clean throw.
Yep.
So he turns the other way. He wants to now. What he's doing is good quarterbacking, by the way. He wants the backside dig to Watson because that's normally that's what you get with trips. Is you get trips to one side, and then you get a backside dig that times out on the other side, and that's where he's looking. And I don't know if he views that as open, but I think at that point he starts to feel the pocket squeeze on him and feels uncomfortable because of Phillips' speed to power rush versus Tom. And then so he moves, and there's Hunt to clean it up.
Yeah. I thought Quinion had pretty good coverage on that too. On the backside dig. So that might have made him think twice a little bit. But here.
Again, you don't know what's in his head, but all we're doing is extrapolating from what we see. But he's clearly looking right, and like I said, the timing is such that the snag route was the throw, but I think Dean scared him a little bit. Like, it did look like Dean might have been in position to make a play, and he didn't want to throw it. And then he did the right thing. He looked, you see him, he's looking to the dig, but it's not defined enough for him to turn it loose. And all of a sudden now the body is, it's easy to sit here and say with a clicker, oh, he should throw that. But, he can feel that. He can feel that.
He can probably feel Jaelan Phillips' hand on his chest at that moment too, as he spun away and into the sack. That was a really nice. You brought up the point, and Adam, Greg brought this up. We talked about it. That Jaylen Phillips, of all the Eagles edge rushers, he has the prototype build, the body, the strength, the long arms,
correct,
the height. The Eagles don't really have a guy like that. That's prototype. They're either light like Nolan Smith or Brandon Graham, who's short but really barrel chested.
You were talking about that weeks ago, and he just basically. Josh Sweat would have been that guy, and Phillips is a better football player. No offense to Josh, he's been a good story developer.
Josh was that guy,
right? Exactly, but Phillips is a better football player.
Correct,
and he's so much more explosive as a pass rusher. He's strong as hell too. He's long. Again, he's
prototypical. I mean,
body.
as we discussed last week when the trade was made, and I told you he checked all the boxes. He's prototypical.
Yep.
All right, this is a 2nd and 7. It's a run play on the next possession for the Packers. Greg, I don't know if this one stands out to you. It's just a run, but I wanted to show a Jomo and a swim move that he puts on the left guard here to just get immediate penetration. And cause disruption in the backfield. I thought he played well.
He did.
And it looks like all of them are using their arm. I don't know.
They're in there. This is their base front. Where Campbell is in the game as an edge player. So it's essentially a 5-2 front. And, Jomo does a really nice job here. Really nice job.
It feels like a lot of the guys up front are using that arm over move that we've seen.
It's a good move. I mean, it's not brand new. I mean, it's been around forever.
No,
but
of course.
It's a good move.
Yeah. All right. This is 2nd and 10. Phillips I like this one because you may remember, Greg, he peels off of the block on the right side and then stops the running back in his tracks here. But it's more about, driving him back.
Well, first of all, he does a phenomenal job here because if I'm not mistaken, and again, I don't know all their rules, but he's the edge setter here because you don't know what the routes are going to be. If both those guys to the right of the tight end, because this is against the tight end, I believe. If both those wide receivers run vertical routes, DeJean has to, sink, and obviously Jackson's not an edge setter, So this is classic setting the edge. Notice how he works outside. Notice how he works outside.
Right.
Okay. And then squeezes, and then plays off contact, and then
it's a great play.
That's a great play. That's the way you teach it.
Those long arms, man, they really help.
Can't teach size, folks. Can't teach size.
Look. Just go back a little, Jeff, if you can. Right. Okay, we'll run it. I'll see if we can get it right. Keep going. Right there. You see, right there, how you work to the outside, so that if is that Wilson or Jacobs? I think it might be Wilson.
It's Wilson.
Yeah. If Wilson were to bounce that. Notice that he's in position with his outside arm and with his body position, that he's in excellent position so he can't get outside of him.
Right. There you go.
See, look at that. That's perfect.
He made the running back not be able to hit the outside corner. Because if he hits the outside, he's got blockers.
Well, ahead. He's got. I mean, it may not be 30 yards, but he's going to have a decent run.
Right there. Sees color.
There you go.
To turn it inside. And
he had some real good reps.
I was going to say, I just think there's also a good ability for linemen who can do that, but then get off the block.
Correct.
And stop the run as well.
I mean, there were snaps where he dominated the tight end. I mean, going back to the fumble, he just shut. I know a lot of people say, Jacobs made the comment they knew our play. That's wonderful. But the point is, most people know a lot of the plays in this league. That's the kind of statement that goes viral that really means nothing. But if Musgrave made the block on Phillips, that wouldn't happen. But Phillips just shoved him literally right back. Just ate him up. He physically ate him up.
Which we know the Packers are run reliant. They want to be able to be ahead of the sticks. They want to have nice, second and mediums. But the very next play after that becomes 3rd and 8. And to your point, Greg, I mean, just uncomfortable. Is that a stunt? No, they didn't stunt. I thought they were going to stunt there.
No.
But great penetration again.
Ojomo, right?
Front.
Is that Ojomo?
That's a
Yeah.
Jomo.
So
Yeah.
Ojomo gets the penetration, but Carter takes on the double team and then bats the pass.
Right, but look at the club move by Jomo here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back. That's great. It's like
Yeah,
a double
really
play,
good.
right? They both use their club moves.
Yep.
There's Carter's more of a slap. Jomo,
It's really good by Jomo.
It's almost like a synchronized slap. They both made the move.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff right here.
Yeah, drills him. Almost an interception. We're going to look at the sequence late in the second quarter where Jordan Love gets sacked on the sim pressure. That's Nico Dean.
You're talking about at the end and then with the fumble?
And then the fumble. So this is the first one to play in the sequence. This is the sim.
So this is the 4-man sim pressure with both Phillips and Bond, who was aligned on the ball here, dropping out. So
Right.
Dean pressured through the A gap, and he forced Love to move. And then he looked to run where Smith, cleaned up for the sack. So this was really forced by Dean.
Right. And as people can see, it's coming out of that too high structure that you talked about, Greg, which was
correct.
Now, I thought what was impressive about this, it's just a 4-man rush. And when we look at the other angle, Greg, they picked it up. I think Dean just beat the guard.
Dean actually got, beat half a man here. He got inside of the guard Banks and was able just to run through him.
Yeah. Because it's not, we've seen this blitz or this sim before where it results in a free rusher, but this is a case where he just got inside of him.
Yep.
Impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
He and we remember how good of, not that it was a blitz in particular, but we remember how good of a blitzer and pass rusher Dean could be when he did it in college.
Right. So on the very next play, Greg, I think
the very next play was this was a 5-man pressure. Dean was the 5th rusher. They went 3 under, 3 deep behind it. He blitzed from the second level. He kind of ran through Jacobs. I don't know exactly what Jacobs was doing here. I don't know. He didn't really square him up to block him, and it looked like he was trying to release. So I don't know exactly what Jacobs was doing. But the point is, Dean blitzed, ran through him. But I also thought, and by the way, I failed to mention, I thought Jalen Hunt had a very good game as well.
Good.
And here he had a one-arm stab driving the left tackle Walker. Sorry, Jeff, I know he's a Penn Stater. He had a one-arm stab on Walker, to push him right back into the pocket.
Yeah, we'll get a closer look at that right now. By the way, I think this was just the second true blitz 5-man rush that Vic.
He only had 4 in the game.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a 5-man pressure.
So you're right, because I'm going to just it looked like Jacobs first played the outside and then sort of got himself off balance, like he's playing the wide.
Well, I think he was releasing, because don't forget the Eagles hadn't blitzed. I think he was releasing and then saw at the corner of his eye Dean and realized, I can't let a free rusher at my quarterback.
Right.
But he didn't really block him with a whole lot of, I would never say desire. I don't know what's in his head. That's not my point at all. He kind of got in the way and then kind of look, and then now I don't know whether Dean blew him. It's hard to tell. But the point is, Dean ended up running through him.
Yeah, that's a blitz right there.
Whatever was in Jacob's head, Dean ended up running through him.
Yeah, we've kind of had this criticism about Saquon Barkley at times. Like, you're there, but you're not really providing the obstruction.
Yeah, so I can't answer that.
And it's not how much you weigh; it's technique. That's what coaches say.
Well, Dean's always going to be lower than most guys that he's rushing against.
That helps.
True. All right, Greg. Fourth quarter, so it's big because the Packers have come back a little bit. Jordan Love is going to try to make a play here on 3rd and 11. This is the play where I believe Phillips drops into you could see him already. He's lined up as the 4-eye, and you can see Jalen Carter is across right tackle.
Yeah, this is where Carter and Graham were the edge rushers. This was a case where, I really felt like Love was just slow to process. He was then forced out of the pocket where, Phillips, as a spy, ran him down, resulting in the incompletion.
Right. So here you see Phillips drop. It's just a 3-man rush. Was there an opportunity here to go right at the 30 where they're running the backs the dig?
I mean, to me,
tough. Yeah.
I don't. Again, I can't speak for what's in Love's head. That I can't speak to. But I think there's a throw here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the receiver, though, just needs to sit down at the marker and then instead of drawing himself into the coverage. I mean, I don't
Well,
know what their
then you
routes
get
are.
into the anticipation element of playing quarterback, which normally Love's pretty good at, by the way.
Yeah,
But for some reason it didn't process, didn't register, and he held the ball. Because
yeah.
right now
You
the
got
pocket's
Dubs
clean.
too.
I mean, he's in a clean pocket.
Yeah, and you have Dubs coming across, on the right side.
Yeah. There's a throw to be made here.
I agree.
And then he runs out, and Phillips. I mean, look at Phillips move for a guy. I mean, he's 6'5", 265. I mean, we're not talking about like Adam said a few minutes ago. It's not like Nolan Smith size, I mean,
Right.
this guy's a big man.
Well, I mean, I feel like this video completes the
game. Now, this is what you're going to expect from him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never been about effort. It's just been health.
Right. Just relentless. Thought it was awesome. Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there. But when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting, and they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up. All right.
Yeah, I thought it was a really strong defensive performance as a team as well, but individual players that I thought played well. So, look, if this defense starts to play at that level, everything changes. I mean, they're going to have another test, which we'll get into later in the week, this Sunday night against a very good team that can both run and throw. So we'll see how it plays out. But this was a really strong effort.
Greg, that was my biggest takeaway after, and we'll talk about this on Inside the Birds this week. If this is the front four they're going to get type of rush, then it changes everything for what Vic can do going forward compared to what he had been doing in the first half, and it's just going to play into his hands even more if
Without
this is what
question.
you're going to get. Yeah.
I mean, look, Jaylen Phillips, he's just a really good player. I mean,
you like to say, Greg, he's a man.
Yeah, I mean, look, is a guy great every week? No, I don't want to get into those. Those are meaningless discussions to me. It's like when guys at the gym who I know well and love talking to me about ball say things like, "Well, is this guy for real?" And I'm like, "What does that even mean?" What does that even mean?
It's not real.
Yeah, So, but the point is, you're dealing, Jeff. You nailed it. You're dealing with a guy that's a true big-time DN with the size, the length, everything you want. I mean, you're not dealing with a little guy. Look, Nolan Smith is had a great last part of last year, and the assumption is he'll continue to get better now that he's healthy. But, he's 238 pounds. This guy's 6'5", 265 pounds.
Yep.
But by the way, how did Nolan look on his? I know he didn't play a lot. How did he look to you?
He played, I think, close to 20 snaps. I mean, I would say that I didn't notice him, to be honest with you, one way or the other. Whereas a lot of the other guys I noticed, but that doesn't mean he played badly, Adam. I just, didn't. He didn't pop to me.
Okay.
There you go. All right, well, buckle up for part 2 because we are contractually obligated to talk about the Eagles offense and go through the tape. So I'm sorry, Greg. I know your eyes hurt, but we're going to do that in part 2. But this has been a fun part 1, looking at the Eagles defense on Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell. For Greg Cosell and Adam Kaplan, I'm Jeff Mosher. Catch you all on part 2.